Right, it's talk time now. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the Acting Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, to reopen investigation into the unresolved murder of former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Bola Ige and ex-Deputy National Chairman South-South of the People's Democratic Party, Aminasari Dikibo.
The killing of the two personalities caused national outrage, with Nigerians calling on the then government of former President Olusegun Obasanjo to fish out the killers who have still not been found. Late Bola Ige was shot dead in his bedroom in Bodija, Ibadan, home at about 9 p.m. on December 23, 2001. On the part of Chief Aminasari Dikibo, the late PDP Deputy National Chairman was said to be returning to his base from Abuja after a meeting when he was waylaid by suspected assassins on entering Delta State. He was killed near Asaba on October 22, 2004.
Now, Dikibo's assassination at the time was alleged to have been caused by certain disagreements with the powers that be in his political circle prior to the general elections. Now, analysts say the fact that the killers and their sponsors were still prowling the streets without arrest and prosecution for crimes against humanity was a dangerous trend which, if not addressed, might lead to killing of more political leaders either now or in the future.
Indeed. Well, joining us in the studio is Barrister AHMED ABBAS. Good morning and thanks for joining us again. It's good to see you.
Good morning.
Well, experts have said that forensic evidence seems to be the missing key when it comes to unraveling, these cases that have gone on for so long. I mean, from Delegiwa to, of course, Bola Ige, former Attorney General. People have said if an Attorney General is serving Attorney General and Minister of Justice could be taken out like that, then what happens to the rest of us? What exactly is the missing link here?
Thank you. There's absolutely nothing missing. I can categorically tell you there's absolutely nothing missing. We simply lack the political will to do what is right. There has been too much of political interference in most of these mysterious and unsolved murders. The basic and fundamental problem is that of political interference or lack of the political will on the part of the government to do what is right for political consideration. I can tell you categorically that if you allow our law enforcement officers, the police, to do their job very well, we have capable men and women in the police force that would dissolve any mysterious assassination. But most times their hands are tied. I can tell you categorically. So I'm happy that we have a government that has the courage to insist there is nothing mysterious, there's no problem that cannot be solved by humans. Worst case scenario, if you don't have the expertise, you can import them from other jurisdictions. They do it in advanced countries.
Indeed.
When you have a plane crash and you know that the capacity of your men cannot handle it, you solicit international intervention, collaboration. So for me, as a person, I'm glad we've had too many unresolved assassinations in this country that doesn't augur well. And in fact, because of such issues, even the beautiful ones that want to put their foot forward have been discouraged. Because each time you want to put your foot forward, they'll point to the assassination of the likes of Bola Ige, that Nigerian politics is dirty. It's not dirty, it's simply because we have men and women who do not have conscience in politics. And so for me, it's a welcome development.
Okay.
And we should encourage the government to go the whole log.
All right. Now, there's a presidential directive to resuscitate the Bola Ige case and the Dikibo's case, which so many Nigerians will see as a welcome development. But besides that, there's still other such political assassinations. We had Funshaw Williams, we had Kudirat Abiola, we had Harry Marshall. There's so many others. And Nigerians will feel, why they just this two if others are also involved?
You know, sometimes if you are face to face with challenges, you must, as an intelligent person, or organization or state. Prioritize. Prioritize. You must be strategic. I'm sure we have so many others, but that of Bola Ige, it's actually a political and national eyesore that is sitting Attorney General of the Federation could be murdered in his bedroom with plethora of security that are supposed to be on duty. No, it's an eyesore.
Don't forget the same security actually took permission from him to go have dinner.
So for me, I think...
Isn't that where the investigation really should start from?
Like I said, there were so many... I can tell you categorically that was it the AIG or the... Yes, the one AIGs that was actually involved in the investigation was at a point in time transferred. Why would you transfer an AIG that is investigating a high-profile murder case, assassination? Why would you transfer him? But of course, from the powers that be. So the reality is that it's strategic. Let's solve one and go to the next one.
All right.
Because we may not have the capacity to take on
all of them at the same time.
At the same time.
All right, let's take a look at other cases now. Just as Nigerians continue to live with the agonizing memory of unresolved killings of many celebrated citizens, the unsuccessful effort of the security agencies in bringing culprits of such gruesome killings to book is worrisome.
Now, over the years, death threats and political assassinations have been on the increase. The list of politically motivated killings, when traced through history, is completely endless.
Now let's take a look at some yet to be resolved deaths going down memory lane. The assassination of the founding editor of Newswatch, Daily Giwa, in October 1986 via parcel bomb is still very fresh. A River State-born politician, Dr. Obi Wali, was brutally murdered in 1993. The wife of the winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, Kudirat Abiola, was murdered very close to the Lagos-Ibadan express toll gate in 1994.
Now, others include the murder of foremost politician Pa Alfred Rewane in 1994. Bagudu Kalto of the News magazine was abducted from his room in Durbar Hotel and killed during the dictatorship tenure of late General Sani Abacha. Former Oyo State Governor and Justice Minister Chief Bola Ige, as you heard earlier, was murdered in 2001 at his residence in Ibadan. The All Nigeria People's Party chieftain, Chief Marshal Harry, was murdered in March 2003.
Now, a top South-South politician who was a former national vice chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Chief Aminasari Dikibo, was killed in February 2004. Now, others include engineer Funshaw Williams in 2006, former World Bank consultant Ayo Daramola in 2006, and Charles Nsiegbe in 2009, and Dikbo Dino in 2010.
Now, most recently, Gideon Aremu, lawmaker representing Orilokwe constituency in Oyo State House of Assembly. The police is still investigating all of these cases. Now, on the one hand, coming back to you, Mr. Abbas, when we say that the political will, has been missing all the while from Delegiwa till date to actually investigate these cases and bring closure, it's taking the same powers that be to actually reopen this case and say, look, we need to take another look at the Bola Ige assassination and all of that. Isn't there something wrong with that in the first place? If the orders have to come from the presidency for, the investigators to actually do their job, whether you're talking about the police or whoever else.
Thank you. I've always been an advocate, or I belong to the school of thought that holds dearly that, look, you cannot take away the way a man administers an organization or a state from the values he has imbibed over the years. When you have men and women in politics without principles, who could do anything to remain in power, we have political gladiators who engage in occultism, who believe in human sacrifice. Assassination and killing to retain power is nothing to them. But if you have, if you believe in politics, that politics is about serving the people, and that you do not need to kill for purpose of serving the people, then you will be appalled when you see the people you want to serve being killed.
See, my question
Yes.
is, why is it now taking President Buhari giving the orders for the Bola Ige assassination to be reopened?
That's
to
what
be
I'm saying.
revisited?
That's exactly, it's the values that he believes in. Sanctity of the human life. That's exactly where I'm going to.
Okay.
The other political leaders do not believe. These are people who sit. You remember that when Bola Ige was being buried in Oyo, Wole Soyinka was there live. When he was given the microphone to speak, he said, right in our midst in this auditorium is a nest of killers. Men who will sit down to assassinate for political reasons. He said it. He said, right with us in this stadium is a nest of killers within the PDP. He knows what he was talking about. We have men in politics who do not care. They can kill to get to power. And even when you are killed in the process of achieving their political gain, they give no damn. Resolving that murder is none of their business. In fact, if they have the ability to cover it, they will cover. And that's what we have been doing over the years. The government has been trying to cover it. We simply have, as of today, we have a courageous leader. What is bad is bad. Why are we a laughing stock? Even in advanced countries, when issues like this, take place, they give it all it takes to resolve the issues. They give it all it takes to conclude the matter so that the nation can, move on. And even the families of those that lost such a one can move on with their life. But most times we try as much as possible because of political reason to cover it. That's why I said most of our problems are fundamentally lack of courage on the part of the leaders. And I often tell people the reason why we are where we are is we all lack the courage sometimes to look at institutions and insist they must work the way they were designed to work.
All right.
So what the president has simply done is to look at the IG and say, excuse me, you were set up to resolve issues of crime. So do your job. I won't hinder you.
All right. Let me deduct from what you were saying. It looks like some of these political assassinations, when they happen, the powers that be, so to say, sometimes are aware of some of these things. Most times, maybe from what you've said. But if the powers that be are covering this up and another administration comes up and tries to open it up, is it a way of one administration getting back at the other? Can it be seen from that window?
No, you see, it's not about one administration. Look, I listen and I interrogate some of the conversation. You are fighting, or probably you arrest a man for corruption, and the man is saying, why are you arresting me for corruption that I committed in 2016? Why are you not arresting another man that embezzled funds in 2014? It's illogical. Are you getting my point? The argument is of witch hunting. The question is, did you people embezzle our money
or not?
That's the question. You don't tell me, oh, somebody else stole 2,000 in 2015 and he has not been arrested. To me, it sounds idiotic. We should be angry. You stole and we are asking you, did you steal our money? You are saying, well, this is witch hunting because I know somebody who stole 2 years ago. You have not arrested the man. It doesn't sound logical. For God's sake. I'm not saying whether the the prosecution of corrupt persons is lopsided or not lopsided. My own question is, did you embezzle our funds? If yes, I think that is the critical question you should be facing. Let's wait for another opportunity. And for me, believe me honestly, my prayer to God is that may God allow the political parties to alternate. If they say it's witch hunting, let PDP one day come in another dispensation and witch hunt the APC so long as the rogues are being taken out of the system gradually. For me, I don't have any problem with that.
And speaking of time and how it actually factors in some of these cases, I mean, Delegiwa, for example, of course, Bola Ige happened eons ago. I remember when we used to ask who killed Delegiwa, and of course the question just died off. The same with who killed Bola Ige and all the rest of them. Speaking of being able to go back to look at the evidence available, does Nigeria have what you call the cold case database, and how will that help in this case if we don't have it?
Well, for me, this is I've always sometimes encouraged people that, look, no society remains the same. And crime don't have expiry date. That's the beauty of it all. And we have seen, as students of history, with Pinochet, 30, 40 years after leaving office. And I tell people in this country, I say, look, a generation will arise in this nation that will look back from independence. Because if you interrogate the speech by Chukwuma Kaduna Nziogu in 1966, I want you to go back and read his speech. When I asked myself the antecedents of the politicians we have today and what he complained about in 1966, they've actually not changed.
Indeed.
It has not changed. Peruse and analyze and interrogate that speech. You will be surprised that everything the young man complained about is what is still happening today. But a generation will arise that will look back from 1960 and insist that every man that has committed an offense, one crime, even at age 70, 80, should stand trial. We've seen it done in other crimes. It will happen in this country. It will happen.
But the real question is, how do we achieve a situation where it is, at the end of the day, in the best interest of the nation, and not, you know, just like Mike said, if one government comes in, he wants to witch hunt the other, the other party, and then, you know, vice versa.
The reason
when
why,
will it be in the interest of the nation?
The reason why we had such situations were simply because the institutions that were set up to function properly, most of the men comprising those institutions do not know what it means to actually be in those institutions. They were always reading the body language, and we don't have the courage of public officers sometimes looking at probably the powers that be and say, excuse me, I was employed to do this, I intend to do that, and if you think you want to stop, look at Sanusi, the CBN governor. People were complaining that he was an activist. The man was complaining bitterly that monies were missing, whereas people were blaming him for talking too loud. We need courageous men who will damn the consequence, not because of their survivor, and look at what is in the best interest of the society and say, excuse me, I won't be part of this. We can't be saying the country is corrupt. And most times we see corruption right in our nose. We lack the courage to speak out. And I tell people, this nation is so corrupt that, sir, you cannot function in a public institution without having a scar to show for your convictions if you really want to be a right person. Turn to any direction in this nation. I'm talking as a lawyer that is interfaced with most public institutions. You can't leave your convictions without getting mad at the way corruption is going in this. No, there's no public institution you go that you won't be face to face. Your hands will be tied. The only alternative you have sometimes is to walk away and tell them, I won't be part of this madness that you call a system. That's the honest truth.
All right.
So it's now, lack of courage.
Okay. Now there are concerns now because we've from this presidential directive on the resumption of a reactivation of the case, the Bola Ige death. There have been comments here and there that we've heard from people, especially talking about it's still going to go through a prosecution process, investigative process, and the courts or the judiciary is very involved in this process as the case may be. We all know how these cases go in court and they roll from year to year, and it's so endless. And someone saying this could be another one of those cases that you may never see the end.
You know, we shouldn't lose faith in the system.
Right.
Like I listened to the last your guest, from the point of investigation. If we need to borrow, if we need to lend, you know, technical expertise from outside jurisdiction, because it begins, being able to establish a crime before the court starts from the point of investigation, being able to gather your evidence clinically, and the mode of presentation, because most times what people do not know is that substantive law and procedural law, they are two different things entirely. The substantive law establishes what is expected to be established, what is expected to be proved before the court, and the procedural system establishes how you approach the court, and even in presenting those evidence. So if you bungle your presentation, you might actually have a solid evidence, but in the process of presenting it before the court, you can bungle your presentation. And what the defense will simply do is to latch on your lapses, your technical lapses. But like my friend said here, my colleague said, it takes also the courage of the judicial officers. Because most times, let me tell you what the senior officer, senior advocates and most of those who are part and parcel of the corrupt system. I'm saying this with all sense of humility because there are those who are actually aiding corruption. So what they do is boggle down the system. They bog down the system because you see we have this this principle of law that all applications, no matter how frivolous and stupid, the judge is under obligation to hear and decide one way or the other. So you see lawyers who deliberately bog down the system with frivolous application, and a ruling on that application, he will go to the Court of Appeal. If he's not favored at the Court of Appeal, he goes to the Supreme Court. Come back to the High Court again to start another round of application. So for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, the court is simply hearing application. The substantive matter is lying fallow. So I am a member of the legal profession and I've admitted, why would you go and defend? I mean, it's a constitutional right. You can defend people. But your conscience should prick you that why will a man employ your services and pay you 250 million naira for a job that in his entire 8 years in that office cannot even amount to 50 million naira.
Is it not a reflection of the fact that, like they say,
Yes.
people deserve the kind of government it gets?
Yes.
If people are corrupt,
Yeah.
it is most likely the institutions will be corrupt and
Yes.
all of that. Is that where the problem is?
The problem has simply been that right from inception, this country is so skewed in such a way that people do whatever they like and go scot-free. The laws are there. I do not belong to the school of thought that we keep duplicating institutions simply because we want to solve a problem. You have headache, you set up a special hospital for headache. You have leg pain, you say, no. That's why the police failed. Instead of fine-tuning it and insisting they should function, we set up ICPC. From ICPC, we went to EFCC. And most, if you understand, the workforce of the EFCC, 99.9%, were from the police force. And as I speak with you, I said it before God and man, EFCC and the police. If you do not know, I'm saying it categorically, go and ask. They also help people to retrieve money and collect 10%. I said it before the whole entire world. For any lawyer that has interfaced with the EFCC, that's what they do. I'm telling you honestly. They help people to recover money and they collect 10% of it. I said this before, with all sense of responsibility. It is until we begin to look at our institution and force them to do what they are set up to do. We won't go. The president can't be everywhere. We're talking about corruption. Go to your passport office here. You see them converting Nigerians to ATM machine. You go to your port. They are crying that the tonnage of goods being cleared from the Nigerian ports is dwindling by the day, reducing the workforce and all the rest of them. Why will there not be reduction when before you clear goods at the airport, at the seaport here, you need about 80-something signatures, and it takes you several weeks, and people deliberately. And after you have cleared your goods at the Tinkan port, there will be another federal task force waiting for you at Oshodi to ask you how did you clear your goods. It's simply we are running a criminal system, and we need to look at this country can't. It can't be well with this country until each and every one of us in our little world insist that look, no sane society run the way we are running Nigeria. No, there's no institution you go to, you have to literally bribe. Look at you go to the airport. I was at the airport yesterday. An elderly woman was traveling. Of course, she's going with her Egusi and Ogbono and all the rest of them. The immigration officer said, Mama, you have to take this to quarantine. You have to go take it to the agricultural department for sanction and all the rest of them. I was watching the drama. Somebody came and gave them 1,000 naira, and they allowed the woman to go scot-free. They just wanted to embarrass the old woman and make her, put her in a tense situation so that they can extract money.
But you know that there's a possibility that within this Egusi and Obono and the rest of them,
can be there.
You can actually embed anything.
But most times, you see, the point I'm trying to make is that your immigration officers at the airport are not there to see to your convenient, exit out of the country. They are simply there to create bottlenecks, put you under tension when they know your flight is about 30 minutes to go.
You're desperate.
You will be desperate. You don't want to miss your flight. So it's just to, and I look at them, young men, I laughed and I just said, your destiny, you are simply destroying it because this is reverse intelligence. You should put your intelligence to productive use. There are better ways of creating, there are better ways of making money without necessarily making people to cry and, shed tears simply because we want to extort money from them.
All right, let's come back to our topic. Ngozi was asking earlier on, if we talk about cases, like you said, cases never really expire, as the case may be. We're talking of, if we're mentioning Bola Ige, for instance, it happened in the early part of the century. This century we're in now, 2000, early 2000s, as the case may be. But if we're looking at the capacity of forensics, of details, of technical and scientific, or whatever it takes to bring up those evidence of the fact that this person was involved in this case, even maybe if the person has died, as the case may be, but the ability to be able to bring back the truth of who and who, or the fact, let me say, of who and who was involved. Do you think that the judiciary and the police and the investigation system, or the whole system, have what it takes to really set the ball rolling in that light?
I believe strongly that at today, we still have some of the police officers who actually were involved in the initial investigation. And I'm sure that if they are recalled, whether as retired officers or still serving officers, they can actually resolve this issue. Because this issue was stopped due to political interference. They were instructed simply, and the senior officers, I'm very close to the police force, and I can tell you that I know of an AIG that was actually involved in this matter, that was actually transferred. He's still alive. If they are to, array them again, I'm sure that given the responsibility, they should be able. But that's not to take away the fact that we are still, in this part of the world, the honest truth is that in safeguarding the society, leapfrogging the society, developing and growing the society, you can't run away from huge investment in technology. Most of these problems would have been
like you have in other parts of the world, the DNA and what have you.
Like even in London, City of London, from statistics, I learned that they have over 4 million, is it 2 million or 4 million CCTV in the streets of London. That's huge. For me, a man of his caliber, Bodija, supposed to be a GRA, that we should have invested in public, technologies that could have helped us.
All right, AHMED ABBAS, thank you very much for joining us on TVC Breakfast this morning. It's really been an interesting
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.